Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 113, Why You Need an Avatar. And not the little blue guys.
Oh. Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Small Biz Life. We're so glad you're with us again this week. My name's Kristin Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
We are a husband and wife team of small business owners who are here to help you cut the crap out of your business so you can focus on what is important.
Yes, like little blue guys questing to save you from the crap of your business.
No, there's no little blue guys. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
No, this is one thing, and it's funny because this is one of those topics that people think is part of the crap, but this is actually really important.
Yes, this is one thing that will really help you be able to cut crap out more easy in your business. If you take some time and properly create, whether you call it avatar, an ideal customer, or perfect customer, there's a very important reason you have these things because it helps you cut crap out that is unimportant to your business.
Now, we did a whole episode talking about how to define your ideal customer.
Episode 4. Yeah.
Episode 4. So there'll be a link to that in the show notes. But you might want to go back to episode 4 and check that out. Because today we want to talk to you about why you need this. Okay, why this is a critically important part of your business.
And the reason we're going here is we're seeing people in our group and in other groups that we're in talking a lot about marketing and how it's not working. And a lot of times it comes down to the simple idea that they don't know who their avatar is. They don't know who their ideal customer is.
Right. And we actually talked about this a little bit in the episode that we did a couple weeks ago on Facebook ads. It's really hard to do a lot of things in your business if you don't know who you're selling to.
Yeah.
And we think that it's really important that you get away from this idea of a target market. You know, I was talking to some college students recently who are, either small business owners or they're in the early stages of putting their small businesses together. And, they're talking, I have a target market, because that's the big thing in traditional marketing.
And it's a great place to start to get to an avatar, but it does not get you anywhere close to where you need to be.
Right, exactly. Because what we're really looking at is you have this target person, right, that you have developed in your mind. And again, go back to episode 4. But it's this ideal person that you when you develop an ad, this is the person that you say, okay, would this person like this ad?
Yeah.
When you're writing an email, this is the person you're talking to. So it's critically important that you just have this one person.
And the reason being that Kristin got into it a little bit is, think about this. When you're having discussions with people in real life about your business, you are tailoring your conversation to the person in front of you. And the thing is, you can do a lot when you're talking to that person, but you can't scale out those conversations easily. So when you're doing your advertising, you need to talk to a custom human being. And when those people run across it, it will be very powerful for them. And the closer people are to your ideal customer, the more powerful it will be. Granted, it won't work on everyone, but there's at least someone it will work on.
Right. And that's the whole thing is I think a lot of times when we're trying to write content or we're doing videos, it's like we're talking to everyone, right? And we're not zeroing in on one person. It's like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but because I think we all lose touch with this sometimes when, especially if you're doing live video. But it's like, have you ever felt like, when you get people on your live video and those people because either maybe they're clients, they're customers, they're people that you're familiar with, you've interacted with, and they get on your live and your live becomes so much more focused because you feel like you're talking to that person.
Yeah.
Right? I kind of feel that when I'm doing lives
It's easier once you have people in the lives because you'll see people, it'll make you think of someone and you can talk to them. But in general, you need to be talking to them whether or not they're there.
Right, exactly. And that's the whole purpose of this episode is to get you to think about all of those situations where it'd be really helpful if you were communicating with one individual. Okay.
And it kind of goes to this idea in marketing called BANT. And it's a way to sort of score out the people in front of you so you can know when they're ready to be sold to. And, oh God. And essentially BANT stands for budget, authority, needs, and timeline. And that's it's also the old fashioned marketing technique of sitting there and going, this is how I can qualify people to make sure that they're the qualified lead, that term you keep hearing about. If you're in HQ, ignore that. You're going to keep using markets. That's a little more specific to today.
And that's something that we teach to our HQ members that expands that out a little bit more. And we've gotten some really awesome feedback. It's actually something that Jeff came up with when we were working on that month of HQ. And it's really helped a lot of our members.
Yeah, and it kind of grew out of this idea of BANT. And so for purposes of this, we're going to talk a little bit about the BANT, which is these are the things that that when they're in place for someone, that the person is ready to be sold. And that's what you're trying to get to. So your avatar, your ideal customer is someone who will fit into that. They're ready to buy. They know what they need. Everything's in place. You got the person there. You need to sell to them. And so the idea is in your marketing and in your content, talk to your avatar because those people, it will be spot on for them. And you will help convert in those areas. Yes, you're right. It's a little more difficult outside of those. And there's nothing wrong over time if you get really good at addressing one avatar, maybe you get another one. And there's a great SEO strategy called anchoring too, where you can sit there and have one site targeting one audience, another site targeting another audience, but it's referring back and creating authority in your more important site.
Right. And, that's when you do a really good job identifying your avatar, you can expect the areas where they are going to have issues. So like when we teach markets, the K is for knowledge, right? So if you kind of understand, we do this a lot with Small Biz Life. If you kind of understand where your ideal customer is with their understanding of technology, right? You notice we do a lot of episodes on technology, and some of you might say, well, that's really basic. But our avatar, isn't a Facebook ads expert, isn't a WordPress expert, and so you've got to understand where that person is so that you can build up their knowledge to where it needs to be. And by having that avatar, and even down to the little things like, are they good with technology? Do they like technology? Where are their skill gaps as a business owner? We can develop content to help, fill those gaps. Whereas if you're not thinking about these things, then it kind of makes, it's funny because so we're on episode 112. We have brainstormed topics through episode 124, right? So which would basically get us to the end of January.
Sure.
I see that because it's on the back of it's right behind you. That's why I know.
You're speaking out of knowledge then.
I'm not speaking out of knowledge. Okay. I don't think there's ever been a week that we have really struggled to come up with a topic.
Nope.
Where we're like, oh crap, I have no idea. But that's because we've spent a lot of time developing who our ideal customer is and going, all right, so where's the skill gap we haven't talked about yet? What's a topic that is probably bothering that person right now? And that's where we go.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, when I talk to people who are struggling to develop content for their blog, their YouTube courses, whatever it is, we have the opposite problem that we have ideas for so many things.
Yes.
But typically when I go in and I counsel those people, it's because they don't know who they're talking to. They don't have that person that they can visualize in front of them to be able to generate those ideas.
Yeah. And now some of you are out there going, yeah, I know I need an avatar. And yeah, I kind of know my avatar. I don't know perfectly well, but still really, how is this going to cut the crap out of my business, right? How is this really going to help me? I mean, there's less of my avatar out there than the target market. There's less than the general population. So how does this really help cut the crap out? So luckily, that's kind of what we're going to get into next here. And it starts with the first thing. If you go to any thought leader on business, the first thing you need to do when you're trying to find how to interact with people is you need to find where they congregate. That tells you where to do your advertising. That tells you where to spend your networking time and credibility and skills working in these areas. And one of the most common questions we see with people is they don't know where to find the people to buy their products. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they don't know who they're selling to.
Well, and think about it too. It's like last week when we were talking about launching, mm-hmm. we said 42% of all startups fail mm-hmm. because there's a mismatch between the product and their market, mm-hmm. right? And so if you don't know enough to know where to find mm-hmm. your market, then how do you sell to them?
Yeah. It's like, maybe Kristin and I could get a great ad deal on Ravelry. And maybe there are even some people on Ravelry who want or do own a small business. But the question is that really a good use of our money? What percentage of those people would fit into our avatar? If I don't know, I'm not buying any advertising there. So I can start cutting out things for advertising or for where I'm going to spend my time to try and network with people because my target audience is not there.
Right. And just so if you don't know, Ravelry is the online home for knitting. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what Ravelry is.
And I'm a big knitter. That's why I know that.
Yeah, no. Okay. No, that's why you know that because I know that.
Yes.
Okay.
I know that because you know that.
So, I think I see a lot of small business owners who are just kind of, they throw dollars at the wind. They mm-hmm. throw time at the wind because they don't know where to be. Mm-hmm. They don't know where their people are congregating. Yeah. And it's really sad because then what happens is, maybe you spend some money on advertising or, you start doing a little bit of networking mm-hmm. and you get frustrated because it's not working. Mm-hmm. But it's probably because you're in the wrong place and you're talking to the wrong people. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the second point is that once you know where they congregate, you can go network with mm-hmm. them, whether it's online or offline. We just spent a whole month in HQ talking about, networking and how to network online and how to network offline and, how do you figure out where to go? And it's really knowing who your avatar is. Because there's nothing worse than going to a networking event and you're like, these are not my people.
Yes. And there's, nothing worse than after a year of, especially if you're online, you might just be wondering, why am I getting crickets? Other people talk and people react to them, but no one is paying attention to me. And maybe it's because the person you're looking for isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. If you know where they go, you can be there too. Mm-hmm. Very important. The next part, and we talked about this a little bit already, but you can tailor all your messaging because often we get emails from people or we'll get Facebook comments from people. They'll say, that email, you wrote that just for me, mm-hmm. right? Or that podcast episode, you wrote that, mm-hmm. you did that just for me, right? And it's maybe not just for you, but, most of the people we interact with, they're very similar to mm-hmm. who our avatar is. We're not thinking in terms of broad target market. Mm-hmm. We have a very specific person that we have built.
Yes.
And when we do, whenever we do a podcast episode, we say, is this something that we think our person is going to like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes we miss the mark.
Yeah.
Okay. That happens. And there's sometimes that we'll do an episode and we're kind of like, yeah, that was good. But like people will be like, oh my God, you did that just for me. I so needed that this week.
Or this is the best episode ever. You're kind of like, well, I'm glad you liked it. I kind of thought it was lousy, but I mean, it was okay enough to put out, but not definitely not our best fare, or at least I thought.
Right. But that's why it's really important to kind of have that person in mind, because we sit there and go, yeah, we think, okay, this person, they'll like it.
And you can talk to people and you can think that you're going to get good information, but ask the people at Coca-Cola when they came up with New Coke. They had all kinds of evidence that their people would love New Coke. And it was utterly rejected because the people wanted old Coke. Maybe they did actually prefer the flavor of New Coke. But when you just rebranded it and just called it New Coke, you lost all your Coke drinkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny because that happens a lot with products where, we've said on the show before, don't necessarily, ask people questions and take their answers as fact.
Those are starting points.
It's a good starting point. Listen to what their struggles are, what their problems are, right? And then develop from there.
Because sometimes we actually, like in our small biz life community on Facebook or in the HQ group, we do ask sometimes what people are struggling with. And sometimes we derive episode topics from that. Usually we derive episode topics from going, can you believe everyone talking about this week? Mm-hmm. Good gosh.
But it's funny because so last week's episode was because we're frustrated, like seeing all the people on Facebook that are upset that their product isn't launching the way they want it to. Or like you run into a lot of authors that can't figure out why their book isn't selling. And typically, one of the first things that we ask is, okay, who's your ideal customer? And everybody on the planet. Yes. And you're like, no, that's not how this works. Because here's the thing, you can't tailor your messaging or adjust your messaging if it's not working, if you don't know who you're talking to.
The thing to keep in mind is, ultimately, marketing and sales is not a science. It is not an art. It is two processes that work together to take a person on a journey to buy something from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, when you have that person in mind, it helps improve your marketing. It helps improve your ads. And I guess because this is one of my things, right? Most people scroll past Facebook ads, not me. I look at them. I look at pictures. I look at headlines. I look at text. I click the button to see why I'm getting this ad, because there are some ads that I'm like, this is spot on. This is so good. This is so me. And there are some ads that I'm like, wow, I don't even know why I'm seeing this.
I'm not a 90-year-old man.
Right. And that's the thing. And it's but that's the difference between having an ideal customer and having a target market, right? Is that you can really zero in, one of the things that, so we were talking to these very young college students about, business. And I said something that was really not PC. I said, it's even things like knowing what fonts to use. Because women typically like softer fonts, men like harder, bold fonts. It's just a thing. And they all kind of looked at me like, I can't believe you would say that there's differences. Yes, there are differences. And I get that. I like I said last week, I am not the most, I'm going to be straight with you. Okay. It's a fact. If you show men certain fonts, they respond, differently than if you show them other fonts. Same thing for women. There are differences between the two.
It's not speaking to the individuals within either of those groups, but as an aggregate whole, it is true.
Right. And so, but that's the thing. So if you say, I am marketing to everybody, then how do you know what font to use? How do you know what colors to use?
So that pink picture with the bold font just lost everyone.
Right. Everybody just went out the window. Okay. But that's the thing. It allows you to tailor your ads. And, we live in the best time ever for marketing, especially if you're a small business owner.
Especially if you're a small business owner.
Because gone are the days, of wasting a ton of money putting, ads in the yellow pages or, buying ads in the church bulletin. If you want to do that for charity, go right ahead and do that. But, nobody's really building their business off of that.
No.
Or
on the, placemat at a restaurant.
Right. But we have this gigantic social network called Facebook that lets us run ads by zip code, by sex, by education, by income. Are you a homeowner? Are you a renter? Do you have a business? Who do you like? Who do you follow? I mean, we didn't have this 20 years ago when we were marketing businesses.
And you also have Google.
Exactly. It's scary, the information that Google has.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's funny because we're still pretending like we don't have access to this unbelievable targeting mechanism.
And for a very low cost, because so much of their systems are automated, sometimes it's annoying and you have to wait for your stuff to get permission. And sometimes they don't think it's a relevant ad and you get punished. But the simple fact is, 10 years ago, this wasn't possible.
Well, I mean, it's even funny because we're doing radio ads for the university. And it's like this arduous, I'm used to Facebook ads where I'm like, oh, I want to run an ad today. And I hit a button. And I create the ad and I target my audience and then it goes. And probably within a couple hours, my ads are running. We're doing radio and it's like, okay, well, when are the ads going to show up? In a couple months. And I'm like, but
you got to find people and people to help people.
Right. And we got to write it and we got to record it. And then you got to
go through legal at every level. And
well, and the thing is too, but it's not even just that. It's like, okay, here's the copy. Well, the radio station has to get the person recorded. They have to mix it with the music. They have to do the thing. And then it has to go into their scheduled rotation, which Facebook, it's like, I want to run an ad today. Boop,
done.
Like, how awesome is that? And I think we kind of we lose perspective of how amazing that really is. Like if you're a hair salon and you have openings in your schedule tomorrow and you want to fill those openings, you can't run a radio ad, that quickly. You can't run an ad in your local paper that quickly. But I can buy Facebook ads and target them to women in a certain income bracket, who like certain hair products in a certain zip code and go boop. And I want that to run tomorrow and try to fill those spots. Where else can you do that?
Right. Yeah.
But if you don't know who your ideal customer is, you're going to waste money.
Yes. Because
I see way too often that people cast this really wide net, hoping.
Well, it's interesting.
Happens.
A lot of times when you get I'm like Kristin and I'm nosy. It's the scout in me. But when I get a lot of ads, a lot of times I'll stop and I'll go through to see why, especially if they're way off or if they're really far on. The ones that sort of kind of catch my attention, I usually let go. But if they look really bad or really good, that's the ones I usually go into. And a lot of times the ones that are really bad, you go in, they're like looking for adults age 18 to 65 in the United States. Well, I guess you're a big company that can afford to throw away a lot of money because what's the strategy there?
Right.
It'd be smarter to take, half the money, spend the other half to develop a whole bunch of different ads to target different groups within the adult 18 to 65 age range in the United States.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's funny because people still today when they try to pitch, especially when they try to pitch me advertising for for my program at the university, I ask them, I'm like, okay, so who's your avatar? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, who goes to your site? What's their demographic? I want all the information. And a lot of times they're like, well, we don't have that. What do you mean you don't have that? How do you not have that? Because we're living in the age of Facebook where I can target people that specifically. So if you're not doing that, I think you're doing your business a huge disservice. And, and I understand why some of you are frustrated with Facebook ads and advertising in general, because you're not getting the results you want, but it's because you're probably not targeting well enough because you don't know who your ideal customer is.
So, and the thing to keep in mind is once your marketing and sales become a better process, and that's why people talk funnels, because a funnel is a process to do this thing in. But, it's a process. And once you have that process down, it allows you to reach your sales goals faster, which especially if you're a small business owner gives you time to do the three big things: to create, deliver, and sell. So if you're growing your business, you're going to go and spend extra time trying to get more sales. When you have your customer base built up, maybe you're trying to create new products. Maybe you're trying better ways to deliver the products to increase the value of what you're doing. But you get these times by freeing up the crap from your schedule. And there's so much crap, just to remind you, and this is just the majority of it, right? Allows you to find where your customers congregate. It allows you to network with them. It allows you to tailor your message to them. Adjust your message as you're moving through the process. Improve your marketing and sales, which allows you to reach those sales goals so you can create and deliver and sell. That's a lot of crap that's just been out of your day for doing one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of funny because there's so much resistance to sitting down and doing this exercise, which, if you really do it well, it'll probably take you 30 minutes to an hour to really go through and identify, and I would even, find a picture, name the person. But let's say that you take this hour. Okay. How many times have you gone to a networking event and it's not your people there? How many times have you struggled to write sales copy because you didn't really know who you were talking to, right? How much time have you wasted on that? How much time have you spent trying to figure out, should I go to this, should I do this speaking event or not? Should I take this opportunity? Should I go on this podcast? Once you know who your, avatar is and where they're hanging out, it makes a lot of that stuff simple, right? Making those decisions is simple. Deciding whether or not you're going to go, to that networking event, whether, how to write that sales copy, it makes it so much easier.
Would my avatar, Harry Carey, approve? That's it. Would he go to it?
Right.
Would my Mary Kay avatar go to that event? If the answer is no, I don't go. If it's yes, I go. I make the time. I put in more effort. But outside of the major ways to reduce the crap, there are some potential side effects that might benefit your business.
Ooh. Additional benefits?
Yes. These are the side effects that typically in drug commercials are going to rush through because it's like, sure, this will allow your hair to come in a little thicker, but your head might explode.
Or you might have extreme flatulence.
Extreme flatulence, and not have Boys to Men to sing it to you.
That's very sad.
But, the greatest thing is, and there's this idea in goal setting that you need to be able to visualize yourself involved in your goal. And the reason that is because when you can visualize yourself in the goal, you have more confidence in getting there and are statistically more likely going to achieve it. But the same thing is true for your avatar. If you can visualize your avatar as an actual human being, you're more likely to get to their likes and their dislikes. You're going to be more successful at making those guesses, which will help you get to those sales goals, which I'm sure you can visualize yourself if you hit your sales goal. It could be Disneyland. It could be whatever you want. But you need to be able to visualize this not only to help you get to your goals, but to help your customer service, because especially if you're online, it's easy to forget the people you're dealing with are people. They're human beings. And when you put no effort into that conference call, they know. You don't see the face and the shock like, I can't believe this person just wasted my time. They can.
Yeah. And I think that you make a really good point that in online business, or even when you're doing brick and mortar and you're trying to get people to come into your store, I think that sometimes in the process of trying to get people into the store, we kind of forget that we're trying to get humans to interact with us. When you send out those emails to your email list and you just kind of, oh yeah, we're having a sale, and you kind of blow off the email and you don't put a lot of, attention into it and you don't put care into it. People can tell. I've gotten those emails from businesses before and gone, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's easy to forget. That's the reason why there's so many trolls on the internet, right? Because when you don't see the people in front of you, it's easy to forget that it's not just user, she goes strong or whatever. You know, there's a human behind the avatar, typically, unless it's on Twitter, then it's probably a bot. But, you know, otherwise in Facebook, it's probably a human being. So you have to remember that they're a human being as well, because one, it makes you more diligent in trying to fix their problems. And, you know, and the great thing is too, is like, you know, once you start really working and trying to fix the problems of these people, solve issues in their life, that allows you to look at your, and we've talked about this before in the 4x4x3 value ladder episode, in our sales funnel, episode, value ladders, you know, and I got this from Russel Brunson, but it's a brilliant idea. And it's when you're looking at your product suite, you know, what you need to do is you take your ideal customer and they are the person that you grab in that opt-in. And then from the value and the stuff they get from the opt-in, what do they look like? Well, that's going to be where your basic level product is dealing with. And as you go up more expensively into your suite of goods, you're addressing and solving problems for your perfect customer over time. And you can see them go from person A, who really, really needs your help, to person Z, who, I hope I can get an affiliate sale to them because there's nothing else I can do. I'm only human.
Right. Well, and that's the point, that you've got your raving fans who will be like your best affiliates and they are your best outside salespeople, you know, and I think, you know, we often, you know, when we're developing products and services, we're not thinking about, you know, and this is like critical in Russell's sales process, but okay, I want to take, you know, with this product, I am going to take my avatar from point A to point B.
I've solved a problem in their life.
Exactly. And then what is the next product that's going to take them to point C? And what's the next product that takes them to point D? And you're constantly trying to help them evolve into a better person.
You know, in a way, then this just made me think about this, you know, think about a way to write your newsletter might be a hero's journey, right? And as they buy into your product suite, you know, you're changing their story. You know, so tell them the story that they are on to get them into the next step, because hero journey stories are really popular.
Well, but you know, but it's interesting because even like if we think about like your story, right? Which actually resonates really well with your avatar for your podcast. You know, it's like, I remember when you came out and you're like, well, I'm leaving my job. And a lot of people in your community were like, but guys don't just get to leave their job. That's not how this works, because your audience is primarily male. And they were like, how did you do this? This is great. Like, you know, but it's funny because like, that's where those guys want to get, right? They want to follow you out of their jobs. You know,
especially my avatar too is very, very invested in his family. Not perfect as a human being and screws up a lot, but that's my avatar. Someone who cares about his family, wants to do better for them. And so for them to want to leave their job, they have to know that there's a path.
Right. And that's the thing. And it's like, you kind of showed them like, look, there is a path. Right. And so, you know, but that's the thing, is like Jeff knowing who those folks are. And here's a really interesting way to kind of think about it that I've heard, if you're like struggling with this. I think it was Brendan Burchard that said your avatar is probably the person you were 5 to 10 years ago. Right? Because typically we're teaching something that we're good at, right? Or we're doing something that we're good at. And so if you think about, you know, even if you're in the computer repair space, right? It's because somewhere along the line you learned computer repair, and that's something other people don't know, right?
You're marketing to yourself before you knew the skill.
Exactly. And so that if that helps you get there, you know, kind of say, okay, where was I 5 years ago as a person, or 10 years ago as a person? Start there. You know, so how old were you? You know, what likes and dislikes do you have? That's a good place to start, and then see if that works.
And that really is easy too, because it's like my avatar for Werewolves Anvil is me 5 years before I left my job. And So I really know the avatar well. And I don't use my own name because that's weird. What would Jeff like? Jeff would like a cake.
Jeff would always like
Jeffrey
cake.
would always like a cake. But
That sounds great.
But, the thing is, I really asked myself these questions. Does Jeff care about this interview? Would Jeffrey go over here to see Jeffrey get interviewed? Mm-hmm. See why I don't use Jeffrey as the avatar name, though?
It'd be confusing.
It's very confusing, but, let's call him Bob, because I don't like to share my avatar's name because it will lose the magic because of name magic. It's very complicated. But, would Bob like to do this? Learn about this? Bob would. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of wonderful women in my community too, over on that side. And heck, I don't know, it might even be larger. I don't know. But they respond to the advertising. So.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, when you pass things through that filter. Like when we sit here and we brainstorm and we're like, okay. And like right now we're in the process of trying to wrap up 2017 and get all the content we need recorded and plan for the launch
before we have a baby.
Right. Because we're ambitious people. Okay. Yeah. I know it's crazy. But the thing is, the business has to keep going, right? Especially, if the business is going to keep making money, we got to keep going, baby and all. So, so we're sitting there going, okay, what are things? We also try to be very conscious of time of year as well. So we've got an episode on, I think we're doing something to do with surviving the holidays. We're talking about we're going to do tax stuff as we get into the new year. We develop content for HQ. This month we're talking about getting your financial house in order, which if this is something you struggle with, go check out HQ. Okay. My goal is that, our small business owners that are in HQ, they are not going to file for extension
ever again.
Okay. There will be no extensions in 2018.
Yeah.
So we're starting now though to talk about that, right? Because we know that that's something that small business owners struggle with, but that's the thing. It's like knowing who your avatar is, knowing who you work with. We went through, it probably took us an hour. We did HQ content for 3 months. We figured out podcasts for 3 months, and we just sat there with sticky notes and just threw stuff up and did topics.
And the strength is too is when we're creating the content side, it's like we know our avatar needs to do better to get their financial house in order. We also know they hate it. But that addresses how we want to deal with it. If we're talking to a different audience, maybe of accountants who love technology, if that was our avatar, that entire month would be completely different.
Right. Instead we're talking about shortcuts and hacks and how do you get it done as fast as possible, and motivating them to actually get it done.
Where otherwise, if it was people who really loved those things, it would be like, how do we level up your business into that, to make you a superstar at cash flow or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's the thing. It's like, we want you to get excited about doing this activity because of the possibilities that it opens up in your business and the amount of time that it saves you. It's like if you've ever had agonizing decisions, you didn't know whether or not you should do something. If you pass it through the filter of, does this work for my avatar? Is this something they need? Is this something they read? Is this something they see? Whatever decision you're trying to make, if you pass it through that filter, it just makes everything so much easier. It is amazing. This is one of the tools you must have in your small biz toolbox.
And my suggestion is once you have it developed, write down what would so-and-so say, their name. And yes, once again, when you get your process down and are good at achieving it with one, there's nothing wrong with having multiple approaches. Just realize the process is going to vary, right? The process is going to vary for your avatar changes once they've bought your product. That's a different person buying from you again than the avatar before you buy your product. These things change over time. There might be different types of people you start outreaching to as your business grows in success, but it grows in success because you know and have a process for dealing with specific people. As close as you can get, the better.
Well, you know what we'll do? If this value ladder thing, if you're really interested in that, this is something that we taught in HQ. That's one avenue to go through it. We'll also put a link to Russel Brunson's Expert Secrets in here as well, because he talks about a little bit in there.
But it's the other book. He talks more about the value ladder.
Oh, .com Secrets?
.com Secrets.
All right, we'll put links to both, because I think they're both really good books.
Yeah, his books are fabulous.
Yeah, so we'll put links to both of those, because I think that they're really good reads for any business owner. But I hope that this episode will inspire you to start thinking about who you're selling to, who you're talking to, and who that person is that you really need to help you grow your business. Because that's ultimately what this is all about, right? Because that's the thing, you are just one step away from having that business of your dreams. You just have to, if you hone in on that one thing, and this could be your thing, you're going to get there. And we hope that we can help you along the way. If you need any help, check out facebook.com/group/smallbizlife for our Small Biz Life community. We're here to help you however we can. So thank you so much. Have a great week.
This was Small Biz Life.